He was never meant to be ordinary. From the very beginning, André Onana was a contradiction, a goalkeeper who played like a striker, a rebel who never asked permission to shine. When most keepers stayed silent in the shadows, he demanded the spotlight. He didn't wait for the game to come to him. He went out and grabbed it with both hands. Bold, loud, defiant. Every save, every pass, every risk, it was a statement. He wasn't trying to imitate anyone. He was trying to become something football hadn't seen before. And in doing so, he broke rules. He divided opinions. And he paid the price for daring to be different. But that's what makes him who he is. Because André Onana's story isn't just about football. It's about what happens when you refuse to fit in and the world tries to punish you for it. He grew up far from the glamour of European football. Goalkeeper, a small village in Cameroon, where the red dust of the roads clings to everything and dreams are fragile. He was born on April 2nd, 1996, the third child in a family that didn't have much but had faith. His father was a farmer, his mother a teacher. And football? It was freedom. As a child, Onana used to play barefoot, using sticks as goalposts and stones as balls. He wasn't tall. He wasn't even the first choice to be a goalkeeper. But when he finally got his chance, something just clicked. He wasn't scared of the ball, he attacked it. He shouted at older kids. He organized defenders twice his size. And even then, he had that confidence, that spark that said, "I belong." By the time he was 12, he joined the Samuel Eto'o Academy, a project started by the legendary Cameroonian striker to give young boys like him a way out. That's where scouts first noticed him. Not because he made saves, but because he played. He was different. He wasn't just defending his box. He was orchestrating everything around him. One of Barcelona's scouts came to watch a youth tournament in Cameroon. He saw this young keeper stepping out of his line, pinging passes like a midfielder, shouting instructions like a veteran. He wrote in his notes, "He plays with fire, but with purpose." A few months later, Barca called. And just like that, at 13, André Onana left his village and boarded a plane to Spain. To La Masia, the Academy of Legends. At La Masia, life was different. The food, the language, the culture. He barely spoke Spanish. He missed home. But he had football, and that was enough. Training beside future stars, he absorbed everything. He learned how to build from the back, how to read movement, how to turn pressure into opportunity. In a place where every touch was analyzed, Onana's feet became his weapon. He was taught to think like a midfielder, not a goalkeeper. Because in Barcelona's system, every player was part of the orchestra. Still, he was never quite like the rest. He smiled too much during drills. He joked during games. And sometimes he took risks that made his coaches nervous. They'd say, "André, don't overcomplicate it." And he'd smile back and say, "But that's how I play." It worked until it didn't. When Marc-André ter Stegen arrived, it was clear the path to Barca's first team was blocked. So after 5 long years, Onana made a decision. He packed his bags. He left one of the world's biggest clubs to find freedom elsewhere. That freedom waited in Amsterdam. When Onana joined Ajax in 2015, no one made a fuss. He was just another young African goalkeeper trying to make it in Europe. But he was patient. He worked quietly behind the scenes, watching, learning, waiting. Then came 2017. The number 1 spot opened up, and Onana stepped into it like he'd been waiting his whole life. Ajax played football differently. They demanded their goalkeeper to be part of the game. It was the perfect match. Erik ten Hag arrived soon after, and under his command, Onana became not just a keeper, but a weapon. Every build-up started from him. Every attack, every rhythm flowed through his feet. He'd step 20, 30 yards out, reading danger before it existed. When Ajax pressed high, he pressed with them. When they attacked, he became their 11th outfield player. To the world, it was madness. To Ajax, it was genius. And soon, everyone was watching. In 2019, Ajax became Europe's surprise story. They destroyed Real Madrid at the Bernabeu. They humiliated Juventus. They reached the Champions League semifinals and nearly, just nearly, made the final. At the heart of it all was Onana, shouting, sprinting, laughing, saving. He was everything a keeper wasn't supposed to be. He made 53 appearances that season, keeping 26 clean sheets. He had a save percentage of 77%, and his distribution accuracy was higher than some midfielders in the competition. For a 23-year-old, it was surreal. But more than numbers, it was the energy, that fearless, almost rebellious energy that made him magnetic. Even opposition fans couldn't look away. He once said, "If I play safe, I don't play me." And that became his truth. But football doesn't always reward originality. Sometimes it punishes it. February 5th, 2021, a day that changed everything. UEFA announced that André Onana had tested positive for furosemide, a banned substance often used as a masking agent. The news hit like a bombshell. Ajax fans couldn't believe it. How could their hero, their brave, smiling keeper, fall like this? Onana immediately released a statement. He'd accidentally taken his wife's medication, thinking it was aspirin. The substance had entered his system by mistake. But rules are rules, and UEFA showed no mercy. A 12-month ban from all football activity. No training. No contact with teammates. Nothing. He appealed to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, and the ban was later reduced to 9 months. But those 9 months were brutal. 9 months of isolation. 9 months of questions. 9 months of people whispering, maybe he was never that good. The world moved on. Ajax signed new goalkeepers. Commentators stopped mentioning his name. And for the first time, André Onana, the rebel, the fighter, the talker, went silent. He spent his days training alone in a park, running drills on uneven grass, chasing shadows of his old life. He'd wake up before sunrise and remind himself, "I'm not done." Because rebels don't die quietly. When his suspension ended in November 2021, Ajax offered him a return. But something had changed. The trust, the connection, the energy. He played a few games, but everyone knew his time in Amsterdam was ending. The fairy tale was over. Then Italy called. Inter Milan saw something others didn't. They saw not a scandal, but a survivor. Not a liability, but a man who'd been tested by fire. In July 2022, Onana signed for Inter on a free transfer. It was a quiet move, no fanfare, no big headlines. But for Onana, it was a rebirth. In his first season, he started behind Samir Handanovic, the veteran captain. But soon, his presence was undeniable. His calmness, his leadership, his fearlessness. When Simone Inzaghi made him the number 1 in October, everything changed. The Inter defense became stronger. The build-up became sharper. And once again, Onana became the heartbeat of a system. In the 2022-23 Champions League campaign, he was sensational. Clean sheets against Porto, Benfica, and Milan. 8 in total, the most in the competition. He made 47 saves in the Champions League that season, the highest by any goalkeeper. Each one a statement. His finest came in the final against Manchester City. Though Inter lost 1-0, Onana was majestic, reading the game like a field general, pinging passes under pressure, denying Haaland, Foden, and Silva. Even Pep Guardiola admitted, Onana changes the game. He makes them play differently. That night, even in defeat, he won respect. And for a player who'd once been humiliated, that meant everything. The rebel was back. When Manchester United came knocking, it wasn't just a transfer. It was a reunion. Erik ten Hag knew Onana better than most. He knew the madness, but also the magic. He wanted a goalkeeper who could transform the way United played, someone brave enough to build from the back. In July 2023, United signed Onana for £47 million. He became the first-choice goalkeeper, replacing David De Gea after 12 years. The expectations were massive. The pressure? Unrelenting. But Old Trafford isn't Amsterdam. It's a theater that loves heroes and destroys them just as easily. In his debut Champions League match for United, away to Bayern Munich, Onana made a costly error, letting Leroy Sané's weak shot slip past him. It was a nightmare start, and he knew it. After the match, instead of hiding, he stood in front of the cameras and said, "I let the team down. It's my fault. That honesty hit differently. In a world of excuses, he chose responsibility. But football doesn't care about words. Mistakes followed. Against Galatasaray, against Nottingham Forest, against Copenhagen. Every misstep turned into a headline. Pundits mocked him. Fans doubted him. Social media called him a risk, not a reward. For most players, that pressure would crush them. But Onana had been here before. He'd been doubted. He'd been banned. He'd been forgotten. And he'd survived. He started rebuilding quietly, working harder, focusing deeper. And soon you could feel the tide shift. Against Copenhagen at Old Trafford, United needed a hero. 97th minute. Penalty. If he missed, it was over. He didn't miss. He saved it. And Old Trafford roared like it hadn't in years. Teammates swarmed him. Fans chant his name. In that single moment, everything, every doubt, every insult, every mistake felt redeemed. That's the thing about Onana. He's not perfect. He never pretended to be. But he's relentless. He once said, "I'll make mistakes, but I'll never change who I am." And maybe that's the truest thing about him. Because in football and in life, it's not about being flawless. It's about daring to be yourself, even when the world tells you not to. Today, André Onana remains one of the most polarizing goalkeepers in world football. Some call him reckless. Others call him revolutionary. Both are right. He's changed how we see goalkeeping, turning it from a reactive role into a creative one. He's inspired a generation of keepers to step out, to build, to think. From Masia to Inter, from Ajax to Old Trafford. His influence echoes in every goalkeeper who refuses to stay on their line. And maybe that's his legacy. Not just the saves, not just the stats, but the courage to stand out, to be different, and still demand respect. He came from dust roads in Cameroon. He faced exile and found redemption. He risked ridicule for the sake of his style. And through it all, he never lost himself. Because rebels don't play safe. They play to change things. Years from now, when goalkeepers are praised for playing like midfielders, people will look back and remember, it started with him. With the boy who refused to play by the rules. With the keeper who played like a rebel. He's been broken, banned, and blamed. But he's still standing. Still saving. Still smiling. And maybe that's all that matters. Subscribe to Last Minute FC channel for more powerful football stories.